Yo, yo, yo. I think we might be live. Indeed. Okay, we are a little late, as always. However, we have a lot to look at now and a lot to discuss. So that's good. Yeah, man, there's a lot to look at here. So much to look at. Okay, let's see. Engineer has 16 points, which I immediately find oh no, that's stars. Oh no, he changed to switching them around. Okay, that's the first important comment. Engineer has become a white stars' uh white is stars black is points guy. That explains why Plague here, using the username Diamond Cactus for some reason, is saving Rewind Wormhole. I guess I'll start talking about that, but there's much more to unpack in this spot. So, Plague's not using Rewind Wormhole, even though he could, because he knows that Engineer doesn't have a way to get 13 points in the spot, and so he wants to hide that information. Which makes sense until he starts swinging to points, and then maybe you play the rewind so that you're up on points faster. Okay, buying Orbov here. Yeah, this is just such a complex spot looking at all these cards. It's really hard to determine how to play this game. But what it seems to me that both players have a lot of resources, and so they can play aggressively if they want to. Let's see. Does Diamond use Beast? No, not Diamond. Plague. Okay. Has Diamond used Beast? No. So, but Engineer's okay. Has the AA field here? Probably want to hold on to AA. Let's see. How aggressive does Engineer want to be? Oh, just woke up, slightly tired. Okay, AA here. I think that's fine as well. I'm a little bit more aggressive, but I guess Engineer doesn't know that Plague has the second rewind, and there it is. Yeah. So this is somewhat of a hard matchup to play because you'd think against these types of slower decks, aggression would be good generally, but because of the rewind world wormhole, you kind of don't want to be so aggressive that you're burning all your resources. You kind of want to use the fact that this deck is a little slow in the early game, not to gain a bunch of points, but to gain a bunch of hand advantage, and just apply slow pressure. Okay, just alone Aditrox plus Avalanche coming back here. I think this is pretty strong. Just playing it slow a little bit. Yeah, so that's the thing about Engineer's Orbov play here, if you can't see the chat. Basically, just because Engineer bought it doesn't mean that he gets to use it when it dies. And so it's a pretty weak creature for him. It doesn't get that bonus effect. So yes, Engineer kind of got to postpone it entering the grave, but it's gonna do that eventually. So that's why I'm kind of against using this for Sail Sign on that card. But it's kind of annoying that Plague has all these tools to stall. Like, I think that's kind of the standard common wisdom in these spots would be that you're supposed to play aggressive against these types of decks, and so that normally entails um, that normally entails burning resources to swing for points, buying orb off to deny it, stuff like that. But when Plague can play double rewind and has double Orbov, it's just so hard to break through these boards effectively that you really have to think about how you're going to spend these resources because this game is going to go on for a while. Okay, seems like a couple actually cards are fine here. Sporgazer is a fine pick. Gluz obviously good for the Gook, and you can even grab Sapling Squath and just use it to Procla. Although at that point you might as well just grab the Gla and use it to get the Sapling Squath afterwards. So ignore that last bit. But yeah, both targets seem fine. Generally, I kind of prefer Gla in spots like these because you want the extra draws from Gook if you can get them. That gives you better. That means you're more likely to be able to respond to future threats your opponent puts out efficiently, and the same cannot be said for Sporgazer. However, maybe you want a bit of cheaper removal now. Like you don't want to use Gla yet because you think it can get better value. I'm not sure that makes sense though, actually, because Sporgazer's Flooper is pretty good removal as well. Big card to watch here is Plague's Super Bouncy Trampoline. That's one of those cards that can be used in a lot of spots in this match. You can use it to kill the Super Flooper, you can use it to kill Gla as protection, and you can even use it on Pelfiam. I think they're all pretty decent targets, so it's going to be a tough choice for Plague to decide when that's worth using. Let's see what other cards we can talk about. Engineer is down both temple traps, so I didn't see the start of the game, but hopefully he got good value out of them. Because those cards are kind of annoying to deal with. And so now Plague must be feeling kind of happy that he doesn't have to deal with. And this is interesting here. You could probably get better value out of the Super Trampoline. It's kind of yeah, I think Flooper dies in this spot. Okay, so yeah, I guess Trampoline played, but that Aditrox is still now. Yes, Borgazer does stay. Okay, and Engineer just drops another super flooper. I mean, sure, that's fine, I think. But now Engineer is very low on removal. Now Play can't read hands here, but if I was playing right now, I might gonna hold off on saying this. I was gonna say I could just drop Omnius here. Pelpham is like pseudo removal, but like if I drop Omnius plus an Orbov, eh, it's kind of weird actually. Pelpham is pretty strong here in this spot. So let me take back my statement. I was gonna say something like Engineer doesn't have the removal for Omnius yet, but I don't think that's true. Uh, Diamond at this point can probably justify crashing here. And there it is. Yep. So didn't have a good removal, so you just use the crash here. That's fine. Does he have Jacker Engrave for uh, other stuff? Yes. So you can like go drop. Actually, I like this a lot. This more. If he goes Ozo block Logi, I think that's pretty strong. You set up the shuffle draw, and you continue to thin your deck of these Ozos, which makes Chakra stronger in the long run. Yep, and there's the Logi, and that's gonna put Diamond in a really nice position. Uh, for a long time, Plague had taken a break from this game. I think might have been like a year. He just like I think left the server, wasn't playing at all, and then recently he came back and he's just been like grinding Fight Club, grinding proxy games, testing, building. He's doing that so much now because I think he really wants to do well this tournament, and I do think that that effort is gonna pay off. That I always say like new players are surprised when they lose tournaments because they never play games. But I do think when you play games, it pays off. Like you can just look at hours played. This is a new account, I believe, and we're at 57. What's Anger there at? 54. So in the limited time that Plague has joined the server, he's been able to beat Engineer in terms of hours played. And I think we may see that starts to matter because as much as people might like to think that CG is purely a game of drawing beast or having crash at the right time, there's so much you can do in terms of the way that you manage resources and how efficiently you play and how much pressure you put on and the risks you decide to take that start to compound. Like if you do something inefficiently and you're down 3 stars, that's a difference later in the game of you being able to play like a Pelfam and really cleanly clear a board, or only having like 4 stars and having to do something really ugly to clean the board. Okay, and now we see Warriors. Not sure what the target on Warriors here is, to be honest, but maybe he's just using it because he can. I think I would have rather liked to see an Ozo here if he had any targets. Let's see. Both of their Kyra in hand. Yeah, I'd rather see Ozo Kai for Ozo block here. Just because I don't think there's much that Warriors can do in this spot. And it's good to just play the gadgets when you can. I'm trying to think what card Engineer could have. Maybe Abomination Tome, but Gas Midrange doesn't normally play that game. You could argue it's for the hand advantage, but I think the deck thin from the Ozokai is better than seeing the hand. But now, Plague knows what Engineer's hand is, sees the crash, sees that Engineer is kind of limited on stuff right now. Okay, squads will help. He can use Gas's ability to kill squaws, grab the Gla, and then use that. However, this board has very low health, so if possible, you'd want to clear it in another way. Palfam is probably good here. Palfam bounce Warriors, kill Jakra. I think if you're engineer, you kind of don't mind if Plague plays the Warriors again. Not gonna get good value in this matchup. You can even just drop like a true and kill the Jakra and pass because Warriors isn't really putting on much pressure. I think. Now it's not the time to use Crash, although it would clear the board. For only one card, I think you're definitely getting better value out of it. Probably. There is some surprise cards in Plague's deck, which I won't spoil. That may make that not the case. But I don't know if that's something you want to be thinking about. If you're the Gaios player right now. Engineer is really in the tank here, surprisingly. I think it's gotta be a Palfam. I think that when you're playing the Skla, you're starting to put yourself in trouble. Oh, actually, though, if you're just grabbing the Knopf and you're holding the Gla to hand, I didn't realize that play. That's stronger. Yeah, I quite like that. You could even drop the Truant if you want to say be annoying. I think that's fine as well. Or you could just attack with Knopf. I think playing Gla here would be a mistake because these creatures have such low health that you might as well kill them with smaller plays. Okay, we're gonna see the Pelf on the Jakra. I think that's okay. Plague has a lot of stars, so it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But okay, Orbuff here. Orbuff's fine here. You could also wait to try to get a 4th star, but I think Orbuff's fine here. Yep, okay. So they're both dead, and now it's back to Plague's turn. I think that's generally pretty good on Engineer, the line he took. And now it's up to Plague here. You can just drop a Jakra and you need something to hit for 80. Like an Ozokai would be good. Yeah, so you just drop Jakra Ozokai here. Clear board, you have this Nightmare Matter, which is going to be very annoying for the opponent. Very annoying for the opponent. It's early in the morning for me. Not that early, it's 9 a.m., but early enough. Okay, we got Jakra into Pelfam, Ozokai into the Knopf, clearing board. Back on Engineer is going to have to find yet another way to clear what is basically an identical board. And I think that's one of the trouble. And here comes the crash, which I think is a little bit of a frustration crash. It's something that I, for one, tend to do a lot. When you're kind of upset with your inability to clear these boards efficiently, and you feel like you can't get great value, you burn Crash, which is even worse value. And now we're going to see this one with Truant. Could probably drop the Spurgazer here as well, which sounds weird, but this way you can use Truant's ability. So if Plague... Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Let me mute these DMs here. Okay, apologies. So yes, we just see the lone truant, which is fine probably, but now no nightmare matter. Oh, it was the crash. Oh, yeah, yeah. So crash truant for 4, which I don't think is worth it just because of how hard it's going to be for Diamond to get points. Now I'd love for Engineer to get points. I'd love to see the drop of the Orba from Plague here, just to guarantee that uh, Engineer has no way of getting some like perfect combination of cards and drawing a lot. Okay, there we go. Another 4 points, or another 5 points. Playing this whole game, being passive, playing rewind, using Orbov, just stalling. Now, now has the opportunity to turn the tide to become the aggressive player. And is within a couple turns of winning. Engineer, on the other hand, has to really start making use of the few cards he has left because this game's gonna be over soon, and he's realizing that some of these cards he can't use efficiently. Like with these low health boards, Glev's not doing all you want. Um, like here, I kind of like a weird play, which is Glug kill Orbov of all cards, drop the Truant, Glug into Jakra, uh, Truant into face, or actually if, or you can even grab Thorn. Yeah, you can go Glug into use Glass, kill Glug, grab Thorn, Thorn into Jakra, Truant into face, and then you're at 15. And then Pelfam plus Truant plus Sporgazer is another something. It's like another 7 theoretically. So actually, no, yeah, you just have to use it. But like, you're almost there. Not quite, and maybe you're just a little too short, but you're almost there in terms of how many points you're getting. And it's going to be up to Plague to kind of crush Engineer's dreams here. To play aggressively, to play passively, to stop Engineer from getting any burst damage. Oh, and look at that! Wow, the play on the Orbov come through. Okay, now we're looking for Glug kill Orbov grab Thorn, because there's only one Thorn in grave right now, so that should be a perfectly valid option for Engineer, which I would have liked to see personally. But okay, and Orbov comes back. Oh, that's tough. Yeah. Oh, but actually, wait. So when your opponent kills his own creature, you continue power. So yeah, so now Glut is a 360 170. Although I don't know if it's an optional thing, right? You can. So maybe Engineer doesn't know the ruling, and I feel like it would be interference in the game if I were to remind him of that. But if he watches this back, that's a good thing to take note of. That when Truant dies, you can stat boost another one of your creatures. However, if you're Plague, I mean, do you just assume that Engineer? You're kind of like, because if you ask, because it could be implied. There's a little bit of awkwardness here. It could be implied that the guy is 360 170, and that's why I think Plague didn't hit into Gla. Plague's assuming that the Gla is at 360 170. but maybe he doesn't know. So he's hoping that if he passes, Engineer will just kill the Glen, grab a thorn. Hard to say. Okay, I guess it's assumed. Okay, I guess it's assumed that. No, I guess it's not assumed. Okay, that answers that. It's kind of funny. Engineer could be at 15 right now. No, I guess it's not assumed. I think that's fair. Yeah, that's something to always watch out for. Can we get the loan? Calamask. 250 is enough to wall here. That's gotta be a little bit annoying. Diamond playing, I mean, probably wants to get enough stars to be able to play two Omnius in a row. However, that's a lot of Omnius. Okay, what do I want to see here from Engineer? Buffem is fine. Gluz also fine. Probably, I mean, it's kind of like the luxury of having being able to see Plague's hand for me to say, oh, you shouldn't like swing with Naf Pelf. But I think it's like reasonable to just uh do something else. I think it's reasonable to swing with like I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe Naf Pelf is fine. Okay, you burn Beast, but now thing is, Plague might still have another rewind in his deck. And if he does, that puts Engineer back at 7 stars, 7 points. Not 7 stars, but 7 points and 9 here. Probably you want to use the glove. Maybe not, but I'm thinking you kind of want to use the glove there. Use glove on the Calamask and then use Pelfam for something like this that can't be killed normally. Because now Gla on Ionox is just going to free play Avalanche Overlord. Avamont, isn't it? Wait. What's the name of that card? Yes. This. No, it is. I'm right. Avalanche Overlord. This high HP creature, so that killing this Ionox does not accomplish much. Or you can free play. You can free play any number of creatures that add up to 7 stars. So Aditrox De is also valid. Looks like that's what Diamond's gonna go for. Yeah, this is I think a fine spot to concede. And we're gonna go into game 2 now. Now in this in a best of 3 format, which this is, Engineer who lost will now have the opportunity to choose to go first or second. And in this format, I mean in the game of CG, almost everyone chooses to go second because an extra draw is better than an extra than 4 stars most of the time, because a lot of cards could go 4 stars plus 4 stars if you wanted, and people don't play them, which kind of suggests that the card is better. The other thing to consider is sideboarding options. A card that used to be in almost every sideboard was Abandonment, which would be fantastic against Plague's deck here. However, it's kind of fallen out of favor as most of the strong decks tend to have their best creatures be primarily from their home planet. Decks like Polysium, all the Jacro builds, Gaios that Engineer's playing, Shape Knights, all these decks kind of Abandonment is not good into them, and so it's fallen out of favor. We'll see what Engineer's sideboard looks like and what Plague's does. Plague might have one or two Super Flooper in the side, although Gauss Midrain has always been kind of like a Gas Madrid has also been like a deck a little bit on the fringe, a little less popular. It's always kind of good, but never the strongest. It never feels like broken. And so it never feels broken, so I don't think it's necessary to slide Super Flooper into it unless you really have the space. I guess one card to look out for is Monument to Creation, which would allow. That's the name of the card. For some reason I'm thinking I'm missing it up. Anyway, there's an activator that lets you draw two when your opponent draws a card. In this case, it would be either on Thorngoborg or Gook. Okay, a little bit of confusion with drawing, but let's get all sorted out now. And we're going to see one of the latest evolutions in CG, which we can thank Secret for, which is that a lot of games in CG start with draw passing. Lots and lots of draw passing. The argument being that when you play the first card, you are trading your hand and star advantage for points somewhat. Okay, and we're going to see the reveal. And the miss on. Oh. And the miss on more, yes. But some extra hand knowledge. Here, if I'm engineer, I kind of want to use my Phycodoris because I can kill the Warriors, thin a card from my deck, and set up two bodies that are kind of annoying to get through for pretty cheap. And we can kind of see what happens when you are the aggressor, when you don't kind of play into this draw pass thing. You start to. Now you can see, like, I mean, FICO is a strong card in general, but we can see here now that we are somehow magically Engineer is up on stars and up on cards, or Titan cards now with a draw, kind of like close on stars and way up on creatures on board. Like a bunch of value has been generated out of thin air because of that early aggression, which can't pay off because of the ability to hit for Stealth Sign. But we see here why it often pays off to be the more passive player in the beginning. Now there are exceptions to this, which maybe we'll get into when if those matchups come up, but most of the time it is good to just draw and pass kind of late until until you kind of have your you have your stars and board established, and you can start playing more aggressive as the game starts to wind to a close in a sense. Now we see a very annoying play from Plague, which is to just drop De and pass. De, a 4 star with a whopping 320 health, is just so annoying for Engineer to deal with, and it's a test of patience to see if how Engineer handles the spot, because he could do something like use Gaios, kill Phycodoris for no effect, drop a Truant, pay 4 stars, kill De, swing for 2. But that would be a super aggressive play, and it would be overkill on a creature that only costs 4 stars and effectively can't attack. So if you're Engineer here, you want to kind of wait it out until you feel like you can set up the perfect response to this, or that you've drawn enough cards that it's time to start burning out your hand for points. But it's really hard because you want to just get rid of this annoying creature. TFP is a card that's always on the mind. Get 4 points out of it, which is, good, but not great. Normally you can do a little more with TFP than just that. Okay, we're gonna see Plague here, just buy another creature's drone and pass. Very importantly, he's not just using this day to flip it with Barrow and kill a Phycodoris. He's being slow. And here we see the TFP from Engineer, which is, I think, a sign of impatience. Remember, that's 1 card spent for 4 points. And at any moment, Plague might just drop a Rewind Wormhole. And take those 4 points back. Right, look at this. Just passes, patient, drops day again. Now, if I was to strike as Engineer, I'd strike in about a turn or two, when when Plague has to make the decision of, does he want to pay 8 stars for a 3rd creature zone, or is he gonna leak stars? At this point, it's enough stall where if you give Engineer enough time here, what you can do is you can pay 8 stars for a 3rd creature zone, and be aggressive that way. Right, like you give. Oh wow, we see a new card here, not expected, which is probably a sideboard inclusion of that Temagrob. Temagrob, after this creature attacks, you must kill one zone card. It's a little expensive, a little low power, a little situational, but in the right spot, it's 1 creature to kill 2. And that's pretty good. Plus, it does combo with Temple Traps. So, Engineer is going to get 3 more stars here, and you can grab something from the list. From there, probably what you want to grab is the Temagrob, actually, because you want to have that option open whenever. Because it's a little bit of a situational card, it's kind of nice to make sure that when the perfect situation arises to use it, you will have it available to you. Now again, I think it's correct to just pass here. I know it's very tempting in these positions to do something more aggressive to apply pressure, because sometimes you see players doing that. You see good players applying pressure, being a little more aggressive, and you think, oh, that's what I should always do. But there's a really fine balance depending on the matchup of when you wanna when you want to start being aggressive, but sometimes you just want to pass. If you can't efficiently break boards, if there's no real time pressure in play, sometimes you just want to chill out. And here, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see Engineer wait until he can buy another creature zone, um, and then wait again to see what Diamond does more. I think there's this kind of like assumed pressure that you have to do something against this deck, but you don't. You can just keep on passing and let a couple more turns go by. Like, but it's really hard to do, and it feels uncomfortable versus a deck that has these weak openings and generally is weaker in the early game when it doesn't have its hand established, when it's a little low on stars, and then as the game goes on and it gets all these pieces, this otherwise jank deck becomes much more consistent and much more of a threat. And I think there's a part of every player that wants to hope, okay, maybe my opponent in this instance drew a very bad hand and I can just get an easy win against this really annoying deck to play against with double rewind, double Orbov that's going to be able to stall a really long time. Maybe I can just hold off. Okay, trampoline here. I honestly don't like that play that much. I think from Plague here, I think you can just save the trampoline for something stronger. Even give Engineer 5 points. And I also don't like that AAA. That kind of vindicates Plague, because now that the AAA is burned, I mean, okay, we can see a 5 point swing here. I think we should, yeah. Okay, 5 point swing. That's good. Field here. I also don't like field here. 5 points is not worth fielding. That's surprising. I think a lot of this stuff is a little bit misunderstood. Crash here is probably okay. Dropping dead and flipping it, I guess, is okay. Oh, okay, wait. What's going on now? Yeah, I think a lot of these plays are super scuffed now. This is a position that both players should revisit and and really think about. Like here, what I would have liked to do is just hold on to the day, drop Drakra, kill the Pelfam, and then save the day as this really annoying card, if that's what you're gonna do. And then you have the Nightmare Matter. Yeah, Fico, Jackra, both dead. Nightmare Matter not worth using here. I agree with that. Crash here is probably good. What I like to see from Plague here is like a crash and then followed by using some of the little guys. Or you could pass, which seems a little bit weird, but I think it's okay to pass as well. But I think it's also okay to drop a little guy and play Firestorm. Yeah. Two little guys. Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine as well. I think now's a great time as well to use Firestorm Sorcery, because if Beast is being used in this position, it's not a very strong Beast. Okay, Pelfam hit is good, not anything crazy. I think you probably want to hit traps if you can, or Truant, but Pelf is cool. And an engineer wanted that, probably hoping for the Knot hit. That would have been the worst one. Like a Knot for a Thorn isn't going to do much in this matchup. Now. Hmm. Could be like. Yeah. I think. I think that's a misremembering of stats from Engineer here. That Thorn cannot kill Ozokai cleanly. Hmm. Interesting. I think if you're gonna do this, you should just drop the Knot here and kill both of them. I don't know what you get from. kind of dropping alone Thorn here. Because Thorn does have ways to get value on Jokra in this matchup. It's not like a dead card. It's not like it can't swing over anything. So you kind of want to save it for that if you can. Okay, Plague here, dropping Ozo Block, grabbing Ozo Bam, and in these last few turns, Plague just thinned a bunch of cards out of his deck really effortlessly, which is going to make it more consistent in the future and give him a couple cheap bodies. Yeah, I mean, good stuff, and this is just really annoying for Gas to deal with. Because it normally is used to, like, it likes killing bigger boards generally. These small creatures are kind of annoying. Especially with how they're basically plus ones for Diamond, like they're free, or for Plague. Excuse me, looking at that username repeatedly is messing up my name recall abilities. Yeah, Plague's basically gotten all these features from from for free off of Ozo abilities, and he's killing a bunch of creatures from Engineer that Engineer did not get for free at all. Now we see a Tamagrob. Okay, now you have to do like a timing thing here. After opponent's creature attacks and kills. After this creature attacks. Okay, yeah, so both do die and then Tamagrab is dead. And now, what do you do here? I think Jokra is tempting, but not the right play. Yeah, but we do see the Jokra here. I think this kind of like desire to be aggressive here isn't necessary. I think you can just drop like an Adatrox and an Orbov or like more Ozos, more of these little guys. I like the your Plague's kind of like going for pressure here, and I don't think that's a good thing to do, especially when you consider that now Plague's hand isn't looking so magnificent like it was the last game. The two players are tied up in hand size, basically, and they're close on points as well. Or, I mean, close on strikes, close on points. They're basically very close on everything. And a lot of these cards in Plague's hand aren't like prime cards. They're a little bit weak cards. These Ozos, without searching anything, they're fine. You can find your spots to use them, but they're not going to do as much as they're not going to get as much have as big of an impact on the game as Engineer's cards will. Okay, now we're back on Engineer's turn. Okay, you have a very efficient way to clear this board, and you probably should just do that. I don't think there's much thought to be had here, really. I mean, you can go squats into Thorn, or just do the lone sapling squat, which is also fine. Plus Noth. Clear the board for 4 stars. For 4 stars, clear the board, put the ball back in Diamond's court. Okay, it looks like we're just gonna see the Orbov be allowed to live. Which I actually don't hate. I think that's fine. If you want to take it a little slower here, perfectly reasonable. Okay, we're gonna see Noth shuffled back in. Although if you're just killing Jacker, I'd rather do it with the sapling squats. That's an aside. But okay, we see the shuffle, and we see Diamond here at 13. Interestingly, in this game, Plague does not get drawn into his rewind stuff, and so he's able to play more aggressively. In fact, it's possible that Plague just sided out the rewind stuff. That's going to be a little bit annoying for Engineer not knowing that. It makes it harder. And this is just this. I could just feel how frustrating this thing is. Also, it looks like Engineer is intentionally not killing Orbov, because Engineer here totally could have gone Sapling Squalls into Jakra, Truant into Orbov, but wants to keep the Orbov alive, which I understand the premise, but I don't think it's actually worth doing. Oh, and here we're gonna see Mole onto the saplings. Okay, no, Mole onto the Truant. Okay, so that's trapsable. Yeah, so kind of bad order, but oh, that's brutal for so many reasons. Okay. Wait, there's so many misplays here. There's so much. No, what's going? Wait, what's happening here? No, okay. Yeah, mole. So you're supposed to use traps here. Okay, so no, that's not how. Bro, sequencing. Okay, what? Okay, so here what you could totally do is yeah. Okay. uh, okay, so sometimes it's these types of situations that um distinguish like the top players from the rest of the pack. It's not like some genius thing. It's just having gotten enough reps in and being comfortable with the basic mechanics of the game that it's so straightforward for you that you don't make these simpler misplays. You see the Jocker on the mole. Not in love with that play. We're gonna see a swing for what? Okay, swing for 8. So Engineer is going super aggressive here, interestingly. Rewind drawn from Plague, that's gonna be super annoying for Engineer. Especially after you've gone that aggressive. Plague is definitely in the driver's seat at this point. Gonna be a little awkward here with stalling, but it will be just fine to kill that sapling squad. Although you are giving Engineer 8 stars all of a sudden. Sapling squads reads when this creature is killed by an opponent's attack, gain stars equal to the stars of one's own creature. So that will qualify as Super Flooper, gonna be an 8-star game, which is quite pleasant for Engineer. Plus turn is gonna be at 15, and star trouble should not be a problem for a lot of the game now. Now, if you're Engineer here, I do like just killing the Adatrox, hitting it once, and passing. Again, this is a great turn to be very passive. Plague can't counter much at all. Okay, I'd love to see just a one hit into Adatrox and pass. And I think one thing that you see with some of who I'll call the rest of the pack is that these types of very passive plays just intuitively feel bad. Like, in this spot, there's not much else you can do. And so that's why Engineer is thinking, and look at this. Now he's playing a truant here. Gonna put on this pressure. Because just attacking into an Adatrox feels bad. It feels like you're wasting your turn. It feels like you're wasting the fact that you have a Super Flooper on board. But by doing this hyper aggressive play, you don't really accomplish much but you waste a bunch of resources in your hand. Like you can see Engineer's Town, it's just two dead glah, a traps, and a relax mine. And this is best case scenario. That Engineer, that Plague does not have any pressure to apply. Plague just has to pass back. And even then, Engineer can't really capitalize on this. Just has to clear this board probably. Give Plague the give Plague the orb off. And chill. Now Plague here can use Omnius. This is the one thing that I think is hard about this deck, is deciding when to play these Omnius cards. It's almost like you're never supposed to play them, or you play them when the game's already over. It's weird. This is one of the few decks in the game where I can like pretty confidently say I do not understand how it works. Like exactly how it's supposed to win in all these matchups, and yet magically it does. It's like a really weird concoction created by Secret that doesn't seem like it should work, but yet it does. I remember I was playing a couple of games of Fight Club with Plague, and I was playing what I thought was like one of the best decks in format, an aggressive deck, a strong deck, and he was like, for a couple of games he was destroying me. I couldn't do anything. I tried a couple of decks, I just couldn't do anything because the deck's so weird. Okay, Beastier is gonna be like tragic, tragic for Engineer. I mean, soul crushing. Like that's tough. Now Plague here can drop an Inox is fine. Yeah, drop an Inox or play just a lone Orbob is fine as well. Probably don't want to do both because you want to have the ability to play a Omnia soon. Okay, swing. Beast is probably okay here if you're Engineer. I wouldn't mind the Beast. Although it's not a great value Beast, but I think it's fine. Okay, Beast here. Okay. Now free plays. I mean, actually, I don't know, man. Yeah, it's such a. I mean, I would, I would define this situation as soul crushing for an Engineer. Because you look at this board of dead and Adatrox, and you have to think to yourself, how am I possibly going to clear it? That's three basic attackers with more than 200 power, and that's just not how Gaios rolls. It doesn't have good ways to deal with Adatrox or death for that matter without burning resources, and Engineers has already kind of committed to burning these resources very aggressively. A Gook would be good here. It's been missing so far. I mean, certainly there's some resources left for Engineer, but it's just it kind of hurts to watch this game because it's so painful if you're Engineer to be in this position. Where you're in theory you have more cards in hand. I mean, it's two cheap creatures in play, and yet it's like an almost insurmountable deficit that you're at. Yeah, I don't really even know what the best play is here. I'd probably just start to say, okay, just pass. But Plague at 13 points, so he has the ability to apply pressure. Okay, Nov here and pass. Oh, that's tough. That's not what you want to see. Okay. Oh, and the super flooper. Okay, you probably don't want to play that yet. All things considered, you probably just want to flip the Adatrox and swing for two, and swing for 1 point. Yeah, and traps probably should come down here. I want to say traps should come down. Now, of okay, I was gonna say that if you have to think on traps, you should do that thinking beforehand because you can kind of anticipate this play. So if you don't want to use traps, you can you don't have to be like thinking and like waste time. That's just like a small little thought. But okay, big point is traps is spent here. It's still a hard board to get through. And at this point, yeah, you can okay. Glu's good here. Or you can draw Flooper. I think Glu's fine here. But now another resource to consider is actual total resources. Engineer only has 7 cards left to available to him. One of those is a Gla, or one of those is a Gook, I mean. One of those is a TFP that's going to be a kill with Damocloid, just looking at the discard pile. One of those is a Thorngabork. One of those is a Thorngabork. One of those is a Vodka Pekimak. Yeah, a couple cards that aren't that strong. Spore Gazer has uses. Just trying to look. Both Truant are gone. Both traps are gone. Crash is one that's still in there. Okay, Crash is gonna get Damocloid is actually not TFP. I stand correct. Uh, Beast is gone. Field is gone. Yeah, I mean, there's probably something I'm missing. Maybe some sideboard option. Maybe no. Both Pelfam are gone. Yeah, I imagine there's something available, but it's not a pleasant position in the slightest. Okay, we're gonna see the Glow, we're gonna see the Noth. Plague here choosing not to use Orbov, which I think is good. Oh, for Seal Sign, that's another good card. Okay, so Engineer has like just this sliver of hope, but the problem is that Diamond, not Diamond, man, that name is gonna, it's annoying me. Okay, so Plague here. Plague is gonna kill the Noth. Drop an Ozokai. I like this so far. Yeah, Firestorm on the Ozokai and swing for 4 here and go to 17, which is actually a little more aggressive than I like, to be honest. Because that leaves the hand low. And so now Engineer might have just a tiny window of opportunity. Galuk killed is tough. I'll say that. Now a Gook is a dead card. Yeah, that's tough. That is okay, but now you can go like oh, you're close to doing crazy stuff. You can buy Super Flooper, use Super Flooper, drop like a Thorn for protection, and swing for 8 here. That's not bad. That's not a bad. But you might be out of removal. That's a tough thing. That if you do this next turn, Diamond can drop a. And I'm just gonna start calling him Diamond. I'm done. Okay, he's Diamond now. That is his username. That's more clear for the regular viewer anyway, not to wonder who Plague is. So Diamond here can respond with Omnius if Engineer goes all out with the for sale sign Super Fluver play. Or a little bit more conservative, which is probably also strong, is just to go for sale sign Noth. And you need the Thorn for protection, otherwise there are lines where Diamond can buy back Flooper and just play another creature and swing for a game. So you kind of need that extra protection. But here's what I'd like to go for. I'd like to go. Wait, no, no, there's no lethal. What? I didn't see lethal in this spot. I think there might be a miscalculation. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so here 1 point makes all the difference. And if you remember earlier in this game, that is 1 point. That's not a misplay. Should have played the. Should have played the. Yeah, Orbov. Yeah, that's this is hard to watch. So you should have played the Noff here. You should have played the Noff here so you can swing for 8 and go to 19 at least. You didn't have lethal. You didn't have lethal. Ah, no, you didn't have lethal. Yeah, I looked at the slide. I mean, I should have brought it up, but I just have to put this on. Yeah. I don't know. I think I think now you scoop. To be honest. Yeah, go to 16 here. Now this is a little scary for Diamond. Like it's kind of like false security because you're pretty safe to just drop Omnius, add a Trox, and swing. However, okay, rewind here. Diamond is playing it safe. Yeah. And now the emotions come out a little bit. I like this from Diamond playing very disciplined here. Now can drop the can drop the Omnius. I was gonna say buying back Flipper is curious. I'm not sure exactly the logic behind that, but okay. I think it's probably fine at this point. And choosing not to kill Thorn is also interesting. I think it's probably fine to kill Thorn here. I mean, you kind of get into deck out points earlier, basically. No Thorn was killed. If you pay attention to the lines drawn, yeah. Just a path here. Okay. Oh, you buy back. It can't be bought back, so probably it's a better than I first analyzed. Yeah, because you can't buy the back the super flipper. You can just apply pressure. But now with the squaws, I mean, I feel like Plague's put himself in an awkward position here for like no real reason. Just a little bit. I think it's still like 99% chance Aang loses this game, but I think a little bit of an odd way to. And there we have it. Plague, also known as Diamond Cactus, has won the first set of Astral Ascent with a very creative deck. We're seeing the sideboard come in now. We get to look at this: two Monument to Creation, one Erratic Void, keeping in the rewinds. Okay, that's good for any other players looking at this list. It's good. You can kind of just record this list hands down. Kind of puts time at a disadvantage, low key. That you can just that they're playing these cards out and it's all recorded, so you can look at this list exactly and play test against it and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think some a couple of awkward plays, but generally pretty clean play. It didn't used to be like this. There used to be a way bigger gap between like I'm just gonna use Secret as the like gold standard because Secret was playing really well for like a year ago, like even a year ago, year and a half ago. Secret was playing super cleanly, and there was a lot of players who made a lot of mistakes, played pretty badly, and now I have to really what's going on? Okay, I guess just discussing the game. But yeah, I think pretty good play all in all, despite the misplays. I think that when you look at two players' hands and you can see everything so easily, it's very easy to find like every single misplay. And so it seems like there's a lot, but relative to the average CG game, I think this is pretty clean. To be honest, I expect that in future matches of this tournament, we're gonna see more misplays than there were here. Pretty pretty clean game, and I'll end it off here.